I think that United States public policy has done a really, really, really good job of pitting cash poor homeowners and working class homeowners and middle class homeowners against renters. And we need to figure out how to navigate that as organizers. Yes, Blackstone is a bigger and worse target than Mrs. Smith, who owns 15 buildings. But Mrs. Smith, who owns 15 buildings, still kind of sucks and has a lot more stability than renters. And there's more of them than there are of the Blackstones. And so it's just this challenging dynamic that white middle class homeowners are a huge problem for our renter justice movement. Rent control is a policy. That's what we need, a national movement to pass universal rent control, to give tenants the right to form a tenant union where they live, and to really block evictions. But rent control is not enough. People need money. We need to tax billionaires and transform that into cash assistance for renters. And then, we need to chip away at homeownership. Landlords really don't like the idea that a tenant could be able and allowed to stay in something that they consider themselves to own.
So here we are listening to Mamdani, the communist housing czar, talking about white homeownership being a problem. Where have we heard this before?
We went on your website and realized there's a policy proposal that says your plan, and I'm going to quote it for folks, is to shift the tax burden from overtaxed homeowners in the outer boroughs to more expensive homes in richer and whiter neighborhoods.
So Mamdani will determine who is overtaxed and who is undertaxed. And of course, race won't come into play at all, except it will, obviously.
We done picking cotton.
Ms. Weaver goes on to call for national rent control. Rent control doesn't work. When you have the government telling private property owners how much they can charge for rent, thereby limiting how much they can charge for rent, you create a disincentive for builders to build new housing, for one thing, which creates housing shortages. Also, you create a disincentive for owners of the properties that they rent out to maintain those properties. If I own an apartment building or a house that I rent out and I can't raise the rent to pay for improvements, why would I want to make improvements? Where am I going to come up with the money to make the improvements?
How are you going to pay for that?
Okay, so
Then she moves into the old argument for taxing billionaires, which is utterly absurd. The rich people in this country pay enormous amounts of taxes. Once you raise the taxes beyond a certain point, people simply won't pay them. They'll take their money and go someplace else. They'll move either to another state, or if necessary, they'll move to another country to avoid paying what they consider overly burdensome taxes. So this never works. And the argument that billionaires are not paying their fair share in taxes is a false argument to begin with.
We're dealing with the real world here.
I disagree with you.
Nonetheless, it's an argument to be expected from a communist, because this is what communists do. They pit one group against another group. In this case, the rich versus the poor, utterly ignoring the fact that in this country, the rich and the poor are often the same people at different times in their life. Many people who today are rich started off poor or middle class. Historically, we've had a lot of mobility in this country from one economic group to the next. Of course, with communism, you won't have that anymore.
Oh my God.
And of course, she makes a point of mentioning that she wants the billionaires' tax money essentially to pay the rent for renters, which is a bit confusing, because then wouldn't they not be renters if someone else is paying their rent for them? They're just freeloaders at that point. And then her final statement really sums up her communist ideology quite nicely, I think. She wants to do away with private property altogether. She suggests that private property owners consider themselves to own their property. So they're not happy when the renters don't pay rent for something that the property owners consider themselves to own. Well, they don't consider themselves to own it, they do own it. But this shows that she has already, in her mind, decided that the idea of private property is wrong. So to those out there who say that New York City got what they voted for this communist, Mamdani the commie, who cares? If you were smart, you would have gotten out of New York a long time ago. If you haven't, you'll get out of there now. I would just say that every American should care, because New York City, last I checked, was part of New York State, which is part of the United States of America. We're talking about the largest city in our country is now being governed by a communist. That's a problem. It will not be confined to that city.
Oh my God!
We don't have a Democrat Party anymore. They still have the D in front of the name. They call themselves Democrats. We have a Communist Party.